It's Friday, February 24th, 2023, and this is the Washington Times front page. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. A new generation of sophisticated hackers is emerging from the Russian war in Ukraine. Ryan Lovelace reports the cyber intelligence firm Recorded Future has observed hackers sharing tools and teaching new followers as the company monitors them through the use of data analytics and scraping tools. The firm said it identified about 1,000 entities as victims of hacktivist activities spread across Russia, Ukraine, the United States, France, and elsewhere in the year since the war began, though it noted the exact number may be far higher. Amazon and Walmart are among hundreds of corporations that have started eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion positions as inflation raises the costs of affirmative action hiring. Sean Salai reports a study from Revelio Labs has found big tech layoffs have fueled a 33% turnover rate for those positions, compared with 21% for other positions. Revelio said the departures likely amount to the exodus of entire diversity teams at some companies. At Walmart, the share of people of color among new hires fell by 3.15%. A remarkably warm winter has tricked some trees and plants into blooming early, which could doom them if a cold snap hits in March. Officials at the National Arboretum in Washington told our Sean Salai they've already lost a third of their camellia collection due to the vagaries of a snowless winter that brought high temperatures of near 80 degrees on Thursday. Warmer weather tricks trees into thinking spring has arrived, prompting them to bloom early. When a cold snap hits, it then browns all early buds, including Washington's iconic cherry blossoms, until the trees can bloom again. National Park Service officials said some of the cherry blossoms surrounding the tidal basin near the National Mall have already started to bloom and will take a hit if temperatures fall below 28 degrees. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. The Rand Corporation has put a death toll on last year's Supreme Court gun rights ruling, calculating that more permissive concealed carry permit laws would lead to at least 150 additional gun-related deaths each year. Stephen Dinan reports Rand modeled combinations of state gun laws to calculate their relative lethality and came up with estimates. The group said states can expect their firearm death rates to increase by 3%, and the national firearm death rate would jump by more than 150 deaths overall. More than 48,000 people died from firearms in 2021, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Legislators in Republican-led states are making efforts to provide a definition of the word woman. Valerie Richardson reports the Kansas State Senate became the first chamber to pass what they call a Women's Bill of Rights, a measure that defines woman and man in state law. The distinction is central to the push to preserve single-sex areas such as public restrooms, school sports, and the like. The measure is opposed by transgender rights advocates. Similar measures have been introduced this year in Oklahoma, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Tennessee, and Texas. And finally, the Navy has laid to rest the remains of 28-year-old Herman Schmidt, who was killed aboard the USS Oklahoma during the attack on Pearl Harbor. We told you earlier this week about Schmidt and the culmination of decades of work to identify his remains. Joseph Clark reports Schmidt received full military honors during a brief ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery on Thursday, which was attended by his great-nephew and dozens of onlookers who turned out to pay their respects. Schmidt was among the nearly 400 who were buried as unknowns at the National Cemetery of the Pacific until 2015. That was when the Pentagon authorized the disinterment of all unknown remains from the ship to be further analyzed. His remains were identified in January 2021 using a DNA sample provided by his only son. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at WashTimes for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times,